Hello, welcome to News Central Television. I am Gbenga Aborowa, and here are the stories making headlines beyond the continent. Let's bring you to speed with the Israeli-Hamas war, where President Joe Biden has pledged the United States unwavering support for Israel to prevent more civilian deaths as it pounds Gaza. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also assured Biden that Israel will do everything it can to keep civilians out of harm's way in its ongoing war with Hamas. Following a meeting with Netanyahu's war cabinet in Tel Aviv, Biden reaffirmed that Washington would partner across the region to prevent more tragedy for innocent civilians. Biden is paying a solidarity visit to Israel following the deadly Hamas assault, which has prompted an Israeli air campaign.
I wanted to be here today for a simple reason. I want the people of Israel, the people of the world, to know where the United States stands. And we have to also bear in mind that Hamas does not represent all the Palestinian people, and it has brought them only suffering. I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday, and based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Mr. President, you rightly said that Hamas is worse than ISIS. The German chancellor who visited here yesterday said that Hamas were the new Nazis. You're both right. And just as the civilized world united to defeat the Nazis and united to defeat ISIS, the civilized world must unite.
We're now being joined by Damola, Adewale, a legal practitioner and global affairs analyst. So one welcome to you, Damola, and thanks for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Damola, earlier today in Tel Aviv, President Biden reaffirmed America's steadfast backing of Israel, which is at odds with Hamas. Is there anything about that raises suspicions about the possibility of partiality? Because in this speech, he failed to mention Palestinian casualties or even give the innocent people who have been caught in the crossfires in Palestine any mention. And how would this visit impact the current dynamics of the conflict between Israel and Hamas?
Yeah, so the United States has always been in support of Israel from time immemorial, and regardless of the administration. Before Biden, we had Trump, and before Trump, we also had Obama. And regardless of the presidents, the United States has always been standing with Israel. Right now, the escalation of the war between Israel and Palestine is not really taking a good shape. Regardless, the U.S. is still taking side of Israel regarding this issue. However, I started by President Biden in your news clip. He said that the Hamas is not representing entire Palestine. It's not representing the interests of the Palestine people. As you can see, even though the Palestine Hamas leader attacked Israel on October 7, the majority of the casualty has been the Palestine people. And he said that the Palestine people are the ones suffering. Now, the impact of his visit is to see how the war can be resolved or can be stopped, and majorly how to stop the Hamas attackers, because they have been recognized as terrorists. As stated by Netanyahu, the German chancellor said that Hamas people are like Nazis, and Hamas has also been likened to ISIS. So their identity has been known that, okay, these are terrorists. They want to flush them out, but at the same time, they want to see how the catastrophic human destruction, deaths, desolation can be reduced to the barest minimum. And just a few minutes ago, the impact of the visit has been felt because Israel has opened the doors for humanitarian aid to be sent to the Palestinians by the UN. So Biden made sure that he pressured Netanyahu to say that, you know what, open the doors for humanitarian aid to be given to the Palestinian people because they are really, really suffering.
Okay, now, Damola, yesterday there was a powerful explosion at Gaza City's Al-Ali Baptist Hospital, which killed many, and both sides have been trading blames on who was responsible for this attack, this bombing of the hospital. Now, what role can the United States diplomacy play in helping to bring about a long-lasting truce and permanent peace between Israel and Palestine? Because President Joe Biden today in Tel Aviv did say, it was done by the other side when investigation has not been concluded. So he seems to have taken a side. So what role can the United States play as an impartial mediator in this conflict?
Yeah, in this conflict, it's been seen everywhere on regular media and on social media that the Israeli government or Israeli military, IDF, they have been the one bombarding Palestine with their bombs. So it's very easy for people to point fingers at Israel to say, oh, Israel must have been the one that threw or targeted the hospital. And it's very, very sad. I saw the clip yesterday and I could not, I was just trying to imagine what people must have felt. It was instant. It was instant. We didn't know who did that. However, we should know that the region is also laced with a lot of groups, armed groups who have differing interests. Some thrive in conflict, and maybe they seize the opportunity to also do that. The spokesman for IDF said yesterday that it wasn't the Israeli government or the military that did that attack, but however, they're still doing the whole investigation.
But
to see
the same yesterday, spokesperson for the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did tweet and say, the IDF did it because Hamas was using it to store weapons and using the civilians as human shield, and he deleted that tweet later. And so confusing messaging coming from Israel with regards to who did it. But I'm sure once investigation is concluded, we'll finally get to know who's responsible for yesterday's attack. Now, going forward, Damola, what particular methods or how can America use its influence to support the de-escalation of the war in the region? Because the language we've been hearing is, Israel has a right to respond, and no one seems to be talking about de-escalation. What we hear is humanitarian corridor, not even a ceasefire. So what will it take, and how can America use its position and influence to lead to a de-escalation of this conflict? Because too many innocent people are dying.
Yeah, so by the UN resolution on human rights, basically, and war, the United Nations have been able to develop different ways of de-escalating wars. And the major point I can raise right now out of the 7 is negotiation. We can see that the issue between Israel and the Palestine didn't just start yesterday or on October 7. It has been since the 1960s. And they had a convention in 1993, 1994 called the Oslo Convention. That's one of the whole de-escalation. And it was about the two-state principle whereby the Israelite government or Israeli government will govern the Jewish people, and then the Palestinian government will govern the Palestine people. So right now, the only thing that US can do, apart from de-escalating the war, is to go back to the negotiation table as to how these particular leaders can govern their own people. This particular program right now is in Gaza. We also have the West Bank, which is being governed by the Palestinian Authority, and we don't have any issues there. So I'm very sure that Mahmoud Abbas, who is the current leader of Palestinian government, Palestinian people can also sit down with Biden to see how they can bring in that legitimate control or legitimate governance of the Palestinian people and not Hamas, because no nation in the world actually recognizes Hamas as the legitimate leader of the Palestinian people. So going back to the negotiation table is a major form of de-escalating the war and maybe ultimately stopping it, so that the Israeli government can also recognize Gaza as a region under the Palestinian Authority and not under Hamas. And maybe that's why the Israeli government is trying to flush out the Hamas terrorists, because they were thinking before that Hamas was not operating in the best interest of the Palestinian people, but going all out and the assault on the Israeli people on October 7 is now the last straw that brought the camel's back.
Thank you very much, Damola, Adewale, legal practitioner and global affairs analyst, who was a prancer, talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.